Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Pray everyone's well. Inshallah, this is Hamoudi from MATW Direct Channel Marketing Team. Ramadan Kareem to everyone, and I hope you have a blessed month. This is a quick deck to go through the Provide campaign for this Ramadan, and hopefully, this will make it a lot clearer for everyone. Inshallah, moving forward, it's important everyone pays attention and goes through it with us. So, why we focused on Provide? So, firstly, this is a very powerful act of worship, providing for other people. It's not just worship for us, it's also an act of compassion and mercy, and it inshallah can earn us immense rewards, especially in the blessed month of Ramadan. And one of the best ways to do that is through sadaqah and zakat, which is what we're going to be doing through providing for others who are less fortunate than us, who are needy, who are oppressed and waiting for help. Now, this provision that we have, which we can give, ultimately it all came from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's the one who gave us financial stability. And one of the best ways to thank Him and be grateful for what He's given us is by sacrificing some of our wealth to support the Ummah in need. And that's through providing food, water, shelter, medication. But ultimately, it's about hope. We are not leaving the Ummah neglected. They're not going to be alone in Ramadan. They want to experience Ramadan like us, and we need to allow them to do that. We don't want them to be just worried about what they're gonna have for suhoor, what they're gonna have for iftar. They're not sheltered tonight. They're suffering due to illnesses or injuries. They need medication. They can't focus on worship like we can, simply because they need provisions, which is why we're going to be providing for them. So providing is actually a direct command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He says in the Quran, and spend in the way of Allah from what we've provided for you. So He's given to us and we need to give back to others. Every blessing that we have is from Him, and nothing really belongs to us ultimately at the end of the day. So we need to give back, inshallah, in every way possible. And that's how we're going to increase in our wealth. Prophet ﷺ said, wealth does not diminish by giving sadaqah. So there's some physical and spiritual benefits of providing. Firstly, I'll go through the physical ones. Obviously, the needy are going to be provided with food that's going to sustain them. They're going to be able to have suhoor and iftar and fast just like us. The zakat can uplift them and prevent poverty. Shelter will protect them from the cold, especially in places like Gaza, where people are still dying of the cold every single week. And then there's a spiritual aspect. By providing food, we're obviously, doing it for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We're feeding others for His sake and earning huge rewards in the process. And it's actually one of the best aspects, we can do as Muslims, as said in the hadith. And then for zakat, obviously we're fulfilling our duty of zakat. We're purifying our wealth. And this is again another command from Allah. So we're not just providing for the sake of the ummah. We're providing for ourselves because we're earning the rewards at the same time. And then by providing shelter and humanitarian aid in general, we're saving lives. And we know that whoever saves one life, it's as if they've saved all of mankind. So this gives us a sense of fulfillment that we are, carrying out the purpose of our existence, which is ultimately to worship Allah, pray, fast, and give charity, which is what we're focused on right now. So who's benefiting from these provisions? Obviously, in our day-to-day lives, we consistently provide for our families. We're there for our parents, our spouses, our children, but they are our family too. There's orphans who are going many days without meals. There's widows who are living in burden. They can't pay the rent. They can't feed their children. They can't clothe their children or send them to school. They're just waiting for zakat payment, which is what needs to come into Ramadan by our donors and by us. There's elderly who struggle to work, and that means they struggle to provide for themselves or their families. There's children who are working, long hours in farms, factories, 12 hours a day sometimes. I've seen them in person myself, some as young as age 6 and 7, just to be able to earn a couple of dollars a day so that they can provide for their families. And then you've got injured and sick patients who urgently need medication and treatments, and without zakat and without this medication, they might die. And that's the reality of the matter. So when we provide for the ummah in need, we are embodying the hadith that the ummah is like one body, and we're feeling the pain that they're feeling. And with every pain that we see, we need to have a response, and that response is to provide everything that they need, inshallah, especially in the blessed month of Ramadan, where rewards are increased but also suffering is increased, sadly. So linking it back to Islam, there's a verse in the Quran, Surah 51. Indeed, Allah alone is a supreme provider, Lord of all power, ever mighty. So Allah has given us everything. Allah also provides for them and for us. So His provisions to the needy can be coming through us as the vehicle whereby that provision arrives, which is very powerful. So imagine Allah sending His provisions to orphans, to widows, to needy, to elderly, and it comes through us. So He provides for us, and He expects us to give from that provision to support those in need. So this is their mercy, this is their provision, and we're the ones that have to answer the call and answer to this test. There's another verse in the Quran, and no moving living creature is there on earth, but its provision is due from Allah. Again, it touches on what I've just made, with the point I've just made previously. What we're doing is providing by giving sadaqah and zakat, and we're bringing them this relief, but ultimately it all comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Prophet ﷺ said, give in charity and do not withhold it, otherwise Allah will withhold it back from you. So all the provisions that we have are a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and He can take that away from us at any time. So He's commanding us through the Prophet ﷺ to give to those who are less fortunate. Otherwise, one day it can all be taken away from us. And we've seen that happen with many people who do not give from the blessings that Allah has given them. And then lastly, and spend in the way of Allah from what we have provided you. I've mentioned this on the first slide. Again, this is a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's a huge act of worship. And in Ramadan, we can earn all those hundreds, if not thousands fold of rewards by giving to others. So when you provide, you show mercy, generosity, and you show iman. So the mercy is that you're seeing the suffering of people worldwide. You're seeing them not being able to have suhoor and iftar like us, and you're seeing them cold at night and shivering or suffering from ailments and injuries, and you're deciding to respond by giving from what Allah has provided you. And this is truly an act of mercy, because you're seeing them as your own family, your own children, your own mothers and fathers, and this is what the Ummah is waiting for. They want to know that we are caring for them, and we're not going to forget them in Ramadan. Now, by us being generous, we're basically sacrificing sometimes from wealth that we don't actually have. A lot of us are living, are struggling paycheck to paycheck. The cost of living is high worldwide. So when we give, we know that we're doing this as an act of generosity and an act of care, and ultimately it's for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because He is the one that provides for us and for them, and He sustains us and them, and never will sadaqah decrease from our wealth. We're also showing iman by providing, because we see the ummah as one body, and we see those children and widows and elderly suffering, and we see our own family members, and this shows real iman in the heart, because we're embodying the hadith that ummah is like one body, and inshallah we'll receive all the reward for that. Once the provide period is finished, inshallah by Eid we'll update our visuals, which will be together we provided, and I guess maybe closer to that time we'll have maybe a new deck to go through the more information, but we will show impact media and stats throughout the days of Eid, inshallah. If you have any questions, please reach out. Jazakumullah khair. Assalamu alaikum.